Hello, and welcome to episode 120 of the Pos-cast with Rabbi Shmuel Posner, myself, Seth Hellman. Rabbi, how are we doing today?
Baruch Hashem, very good. Obviously, 120 is a special number. Moshe Rabbeinu lived till 120. We say you should live till 120, 120. But this is like, we reach a point, we go further, we go up. We're not going to 120, we're done. And we're in a very special time now. We're after Tisha B'Av. So the 9 days was times of mourning. Tisha B'Av is the day of mourning. But even on Tisha B'Av, we spoke about this last week, you have the Nachem, the comfort starts right in the afternoon. And then after that, we just project up until the 15th of the month, which is on Shabbos. The 15th of the month is always the high point of the month because the moon is full. It's like Sukkot starts on the 15th of the month. Pesach starts on the 15th of the month. Then we have 2 other days that are on the 15th of the month. One of them is the 15th of Shvat, and the other is the 15th of Av. And we're looking at 15th of Av specifically. It's considered to be a great holiday. It's incredible how the Mishnah talks about it, compares it to Yom Kippur. There was no greater holiday. And it's a whole half an hour discussion on its own. But the point is that as the moon gets bigger, the Jews are compared to the moon. So when the moon is full, that's a good time for the Jews. And the Midrash talks about this in the context of 15 generations from Avraham Avinu till Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech was the apex of Jewish existence. The Beis HaMikdash was built, the first temple was built by Shlomo HaMelech, by King Solomon. That was like the high point of the Jews being in Israel. And then it sort of declined. But anyway, the point is you build up to the 15th, and the 15th of every month is the high point of the month, especially a month when it's dark to begin with, and then it gets light. In other words, there's a downside of the month, and we go through that, and then we rise up to the highest level, the 15th of So it's a very special time, and we're very happy to have a very special guest on today. And not only a special guest, but a special guest from a very special place, Eretz Yisrael, and in Israel, in a very special place, Yerushalayim. And in Yerushalayim, everything, he's going to be like from the Kotel or from the Temple Mount. No, he is live from Mayanot Yeshiva. And you know
Yes.
that on the Pos-cast, we are big on GTY. GTY. Go to yeshiva.
Very keen on that.
Very keen on that, and he did it. So welcome. I know your English name is Jamie, but you're in Israel, and I don't like calling you Jamie anyway. So I'm gonna call you.
Yeah. Also, why am I being gaslit by the? Because I was like, no, that's Jamie. Why does it say Terrence on the screen?
That's his last name.
Terrence is my legal name.
Legal name.
It says Terrence Boylan the Third, and I was like, this is Jamie. Why does it say Terrence?
That is my name.
No.
James is my middle name.
We're gonna find out that there's more to him than you. You always know he's some kid that goes to college in Boston. No. Now we're gonna find out the story behind the story. So the one thing we don't know is his Hebrew name is Zalman.
I found out my real Hebrew name is actually Zalman Pinchas. I've been wrong for a few years.
Pinchas.
So. Yeah, there's a lot of names going around these days with me. So, but my Hebrew name is Zalman Pinchas.
Rabbi, you're the only one on the call that doesn't have more than one Hebrew name.
This is true. But do remember that I have 3 older brothers and an older sister. So, when you have
but you also you get to you're just like the same length as ours because they have to call you Rabbi when they call you up, right? They don't call us Rabbi.
They can do what they want. Okay. So Zalman, let's focus on you because you're the subject of our special Pos-cast this week, coming from Israel, which is really the fact that we're past Tisha B'Av before Tu B'Av makes a lot of sense that we should have Israel on with us. And with that, he disappears.
No, hold on. The phone got sleepy. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm here. Right. Here I am.
So introduce yourself to us, to the audience, just like before everything, a little bit about before college.
Okay, so before college, I grew up in a staunchly Reformed community. Where that was in Rhode Island. In a town called Barrington, south of Providence.
Which has a Chabad Shliach now.
They had one, then he left. I don't know. I've never been involved with a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. There's like 20 Barringtons in New England. It's a whole thing.
Great Barrington.
Anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting you. So you grew up in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Yes, and they're the only Judaism that there was Reform Judaism. So my entire understanding of Judaism was essentially just Reform for the first probably like 15 years of my life, where it's like you go to shul, you learn stuff, but we didn't learn anything about Tefillin or Mashiach or a lot of kind of, I would say, fundamental things about Judaism. And I always wanted to be more Orthodox, or like at least learn, because I knew there was like Orthodox Judaism out there, but I didn't have the means to sort of to learn that, because I didn't have.
How did you know? You read about it?
Like the internet. You find out on the internet, and I knew that there were like Jews that are very serious about the religion and about the traditions and being consistent with the Torah and Jews of the past. And I also like felt very sort of isolated, and I felt like I did not fit in at all at my home synagogue, due to like political beliefs, but also mainly just like how they viewed like Judaism, where like, if you ask any sort of Reform leader a question about God or a question about the Torah, they'll just answer with a question. And it's sort of well, what do you think? Like, well, how does that feel to you kind of system? And I was really disgruntled with that, because like the whole thing is to ask questions, but what's the point if you're just getting questions back? Like, you can just talk to a mirror at that point. So when I was in college, I got accepted to Northeastern, and can you hear me? It says reconnecting on my screen. Okay. I got accepted to Northeastern, and I moved to Rome for 5 months. And when I was in Rome, I got involved with the Orthodox community there and started going to synagogue every Friday night and spending time with the Italian Jewish families that like kept Shabbat, which was a new concept to me, because no one in my town keeps Shabbat. I think to this day, I might be the only one.
So the family you met in Rome was Shomer Shabbos. They kept Shabbos.
Yeah. So I would go to a synagogue every Friday night, and it's really funny. Like, totally didn't know what I was doing. You open a siddur, and it's like, great, we got Hebrew on one side and Italian on the other. I'm like, just kind of humming along, because I don't know anything. But I want
to interrupt 1 second. For people who don't know you,
go for it.
Zalman is a tall guy, so when he's standing and he has good posture, he's not like this bent over guy. He's like this. So when he's standing in a room and he doesn't know what's going on, it's like, I don't mean it's a negative, just descriptive. It's like having a telephone pole just standing there.
Right, and you can imagine the height of the Italian Jewish diaspora. So I very much so literally stood out. But it was great. And so these Italian families would...
So you went to Rome and you seeked out the Orthodox shul?
So when I was in Rome for my first class, I was like kind of on the fence, because I didn't like, it's hard looking for something that you don't know what you're looking for, but you know you're looking for something. As in, like, I wanted to get involved in Judaism, but I didn't know like how to do that, or what even the Judaism I wanted to get involved in was. So it was like very confusing. And I was like debating, like, do I even try to like be Jewish in Rome? Like, is that something I should do at all? Or should I just like this, we had a good run, but like, forget it. And in class, we were doing attendance, and the first name they called was Shira Ashkenazi, which is like the most Jewish name ever. And so I connected with her after class, and like that's how I kind of got involved with the group in Rome. Yes. Yeah, and she grew up religious, and then but she connected me with a group of all the other Northeastern Jews, and we would go to the shul together.
Uh-huh. So 1 second. Well, hold on a second. So you get out of Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be an interesting interview.
Just let it happen. It's fine. Ignore it.
You get out of it.
Sorry.
You get out of Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Rome, and the first class you're there, all you're thinking about is, I got to find a Jew and get involved more in Judaism.
No, the first thing I'm thinking about is like, should I even like get involved? Like, I wasn't sure. Like, is it even worth trying to do it there? Because like, I only want to do Judaism if it's like legit, for lack of a better word, and I don't even know necessarily what that looks like. So it was kind of a conundrum.
Right, but my point is, I think I don't know for everybody, but a college student who didn't grow up with a strong commitment to Jewish practices goes off as a freshman to Rome. I mean, the last thing is on their mind is like, what am I going to do about my Judaism? I'm saying the fact that it was even important to you is pretty incredible. It means it really was on your mind, like constantly.
Yeah, and we lived near the Jewish ghetto, which is like it's called the ghetto, but it's actually very nice now. It's like the Jewish quarter in Rome. It's a big part of maybe not a big part, but it was a central part of like what we learned about Roman history, and is very accessible to us also.
Okay. All right. So you start going. So that's where you start getting, and they ended up with a family that goes to the shul. They would invite you for Shabbos.
Yeah, like different families. They would invite me for Shabbos dinner, and like what happens in Rome is usually for Thanksgiving, the families come. So when my parents came to Rome, we actually went to like a Shabbos dinner with an Italian family, and like it was cool. It was nice, like keeping Shabbat. It's just like it was a very cool experience and something that I really appreciated for the first time because I'd never, not let alone kept to myself. Like I wasn't keeping Shabbos then, but like I'd never even been around people that do it. So like you don't understand it until you're inside of it, kind of thing.
Wow. Okay. And so that was the first introduction to real halachic Judaism is in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come back to Northeastern, to Boston.
Then I get back to Northeastern, and I asked my friends, like, "Oh, what's the deal here?" Because like I knew there was a Hillel. However, when I toured when I was a junior in high school, when I toured and I saw the Hillel, I was like, "Oh boy, this is more of kind of the same thing that I don't really want." And I was kind of like, not looking forward to not looking forward to having to go to Hillel because I knew it didn't really align with what I believe. And so they were like, "Oh, this is other thing called Chabad," and I never really heard of Chabad before. I was like, "Okay, maybe it's I don't know what to expect."
So when you first came to your first visit, no one told you about Chabad.
No one, yeah, I didn't know. And that was like that must have been 2020, maybe 2019, when I was a prospective student still in high school. And so I go to Chabad for Friday night. It was great. I kept going back every Friday night. And then a few Friday nights in, the rabbi there, the shliach, the man known as Mendy Posner, the rabbi known as Mendy Posner, your son, great guy. He said, you should come to, we have a daily minyan, you should come by with bagels and lox. So started going to minyan every day, got to tefillin, and the rest is kind of history.
Wait a second. You go to a few Friday nights and he tells you to come every morning at 8 o'clock in the morning and you go.
Yeah. So back then the minyan was actually right next to where I lived. So it was literally like a minute away from where I was spoiled. I just basically just walk around the corner and boom, you're at the shul. Because back then, before we had the Shulman family Chabad house, we used to daven at the Hillel basement.
Right.
And I'd pop right in and you'd be right there. It'd take 2 seconds. So I would go and, just kind of flip through the
Siddur.
The siddur. Yeah, sorry, it's late here. Flip through the siddur and kind of find my way around and tried picking up some things, learn how to wrap. So that was my first introduction to tefillin. Never heard tefillin until I was like 20, basically, or 19.
No one put on tefillin with you in Rome?
No, because I would only go there Friday night.
Oh,
right.
So you didn't meet the Chabad rabbi in Rome?
So we actually went. I remember I went to one Chabad Friday night dinner, but it was kind of like we only did it once because you had to take an Uber there, and it was nice. It was very like young professionals, a lot of Israelis, which is fine. But It wasn't like the same sort of like homey community feel that Northeastern had, but yeah, it was nice. It was just far out of the way, and I didn't
Right. So you
really
discovered,
going to the Chabad once there. I didn't really get the shtick, get like what Chabad was all about. It was too light of an exposure, sort of thing.
right, right. Okay. So you come. So now you go into the daily meeting. You get introduced to tefillin.
Yeah, and then I ended up going to Israel on birthright, which was really cool. Um, spent like a week there. That was my first introduction to Israel. Connected with some of my distant family. I have one first cousin, a second cousin, and third cousins, all like mother, son, daughter, or mother, daughter, and basically her grandchildren that live here. And so I connected with them like an hour each. It was really quick, but it was cool. And that was my first time in Israel. Then the next semester, I was on campus for my holidays, which was like amazing. And yeah,
So birthright was not with Mayanot, was it?
it was not with Chabad. It was with a different organization. I kind of regret going with that organization, but at the time I just really wanted to go. It's very weird. Any of the listeners, if you're thinking about going on a birthright trip and there's not a rabbi on it, it's a no. It's a no. Figure it out. Do something different.
Go with
um,
Mayanot.
Go with Mayanot. You go with Chabad trips. There's definitely a lot of opportunity. But back then, I didn't fully understand that.
Well, I don't want to get off track over here, but you should recruit for a Mayanot trip. Go along as a chaperone or something, and get a bunch of kids.
Yeah, maybe they'll give me a commission.
No, they do that. Seriously.
Yeah. I'll talk to the shliachs here.
Talk to the guys there about birthright. And it's not our, yeah, and if you recruit a certain amount, I don't know how it was, but back in the day, if you recruited a number of kids, you went along as like a secondary chaperone with the rabbi.
Yeah, that would be great.
Rabbi,
Right.
we should do a trip, you and me.
Come here and recruit kids. Okay, now, so let's fast forward. You've done every trip that Chabad offers
Yes.
through the Jewish
Yes.
U Learning Program. So you've studied a lot of Torah, but it wasn't really for the sake of Torah itself. It wasn't pure. There was a little incentive, which is fine. It's not. Don't be embarrassed. It's an incentive. So there was a trip to Dubai. Then there was a trip to Utah.
Yes.
And then the last one was to Spain, I think.
Yes. So honestly, the truth is, so I did Sinai Scholars when I was I think it was when I was a freshman. Maybe it was when I was a sophomore. I want to say freshman though. And that was great. And then a year later, they rolled out this program called Jewish U, where it's much more flexible. Sinai Scholars is sort of like a big Jewish 101. And if you've already done that, they have the more specialized classes called Jewish U, and you get credits for them. And when they first rolled it out, it was in December, and they had a trip to Dubai in the summer if you earned X amount of credits. And at the time, I was like joking. I was like, Mandy, like I got to get to Dubai. Like let's just do as many classes as humanly possible. And it really was a joke. Like I was like I acted serious about it, but I was like, yeah, like I'm not going to Dubai. Like it sounds ridiculous. Like you just show up for a few hours every week and go to Dubai. But it ended up happening before you knew it. There's a great picture of like me in January of that year, like with a big whiteboard. I really wrote out the entire calendar of the whole year, of the whole semester, and like, right, all right, we're gonna learn here, we're gonna learn here, we're gonna learn here. Okay, we can't learn here. It's Passover. Okay, we're gonna learn here. So it's very funny. But yeah, it's been incredible. Basically, I've gotten my college fun traveling paid for by Chabad on campus. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Like these trips are amazing. You're like learning with rabbis in the morning. You're surrounded by other, observant Jews from across the country. It's like honestly the best way to vacation, and it's a really meaningful time every time.
That's a good advertisement.
Yeah. So Jewish U, good stuff.
Okay. So, and how does your family react to all this? You like become this, they send you to Northeastern to get an education, and you're becoming more and more observant.
I think my family understands. It's very interesting because, forget my family. I'm like the only one in my whole town that keeps Shabbos. So like, there's definitely a big cultural gap between me and the rest of my town. But it's really not that crazy. And we work around it. The biggest thing is like, family vacation. We can't travel or do anything Friday, so it's sort of Friday and Saturday, so it's a thing. But I think it's fine. I think we have a really good relationship, and they understand.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. You're lucky.
Very lucky.
Baruch Hashem.
BH.
Okay, now, so now the next trip you take is to Mayanot Yeshiva in Jerusalem. I didn't even know you were going. I just found out, like, oh, Zalman is in Mayanot. Like, what? Because you were around here during the summer. You weren't around here during the summer, and all of a sudden, boom, piff.
I snuck up on you.
It's great. It was like an amazing surprise, but it was a surprise.
Yeah. So basically, I was like applying to some internships in DC, and I didn't really get any that I didn't find anything that I wanted. And I was like, listen, like, I'm just thinking about like the course of post grad life. I'm not going to have an opportunity where I like have a few months in the summer I'm not doing anything. Like, that just doesn't really exist post grad. So I'm like, I should go now, because it's never going to be an easier time. If I wait to try to go later, it's just going to be a lot harder. And that was really my rationale. I tried finding programs in America just because it's closer. I didn't really find anything. Like, really the best of the best is Mayanot in Jerusalem. And so I had a flight booked and everything. And then while I was in Spain recently, the whole Iran war breaks out, the 14-day war or something like this. And all the flights canceled. And, so everyone a lot of people on that trip had plans for Israel after that. And all the plans were basically thrown out the window. And like, no one was sure what was going to happen. I learned just last night that for Brangen here that like even Mayanot, they were like thinking like, okay, what if we move the program to like somewhere in Europe and we get people to reschedule their flights? So it was crazy, but Baruch Hashem, everything worked out. And I came to the program about a week late, but so did a lot of people because Israeli airspace only opened up at the beginning of July. So,
right.
But I made it here, and it's amazing here.
So what classes do you like the best? What about the atmosphere? What give us a little feel for it.
So when you get to the yeshiva, you're basically in a dorm room with two other guys. My roommates were amazing. I thought it was going to be like terrible. I haven't lived with roommates in kind of a bit, but it was great. I mean, there's a cafeteria here. There's a gym. There's all these classrooms. It's in an amazing location. It's like next to the train station, but also by the main park called Gan Sacher, and also by the Shuk, which is like the market here. And so it's an incredible location. And every day you wake up, there's like morning Hasidus class at like 7:30. Then there's Shacharis, breakfast, and then you have two classes. The first class that I would do is Mishnah. So that's going through the text, translating word by word, maybe with a little use of AI here and there. And, talking about the different cases and learning the sort of arguments that the rabbis are making. Then the class after that would be once a week it's Q&A, which is great. You could just ask any question about Judaism, about anything, to one of the rabbis. But other than that, it's called Text and Traditions, that was my favorite class. And that is like learning about the history of Judaism, rabbinical Judaism. We had a big timeline from like 1500 BC to like 2025 AD, and just like going through and filling it in, like, okay, there's the biblical period, the Talmudic period, and the post-Talmudic period, filling in, like really understanding the continuity of Judaism and the written tradition and the oral tradition. And like that was super meaningful for me because I don't have any of that knowledge. And I feel like a lot of people don't, of like, okay, how do you get from people serving in the first temple to, everyone's dressed like a bacher, so it's important to like learn the history and like see like, okay, where do we all come from and why do we have all these traditions and how were they passed along and the sages that wrote them and how things were influenced over time. So as someone who really likes history, that was my favorite. Then after that class, it's about 2 p.m. We'd have mincha and lunch, and then there's about a 2-hour break. So from 2 to 4 every day, you have a break, which is really nice. Then 4 p.m., you'd have either Jewish philosophy or Tanya class. Those are great classes. Then you'd have a class all about davening, then a class about halacha. And by that time, at 7 p.m., we break for dinner, and everyone's off. However, after dinner, from 8 to 8:45 and 8:45 to 9:30, there's learning with a havrusa. And what that is you're essentially learning with a learning partner. And that's like optional. And when I first got here, I was like, you got to be kidding me. We're doing all of these classes. You think I'm going to be like the schmuck that's doing extra classes? Like, give me a break. And then, like, it's actually the best part of the yeshiva experience. It turns out. Learning with a chavrusa is, like, really great. They have the most incredible shliachs here and bachers. And it's just, like, learning with a partner has been extremely rewarding. And as someone who can be kind of numbed to a point with, so many lectures throughout the day, it's great to just, like, chat with a chavrusa about the text, about whatever, get distracted, like, get off topic, but still talking about like really good things of Judaism, even if you're not explicitly talking about the text, and just get back in the text. Super fun. I never really had that exact experience before, and it's something I definitely want to continue.
Well, we did have yeshiva night. That was not on the Chabad house.
Yeah, so we have chavrusas at yeshiva night. I guess it's different here because it's very like you're learning with a bacher. It's, for me, like, at least from my perspective, I like learning with someone who's like much more advanced than me. And it's kind of interesting because they have the formalized education perspective, whereas I'm looking at the text with a fresh set of eyes, where I don't have the years of yeshiva that they do. So it's still like kind of a good dynamic where we each bring sort of insight into the text. But I like learning, with someone that has smicha, that someone that really understands the text, can answer all my crazy questions.
Wow. Amazing. So is the program over?
Yeah, so it actually just ended today at noon. It's about a 5-week program, and it's more than just the classes. Like, we do field trips together. We did a Shabbaton together. One of the most meaningful things was we just had Tisha B'Av, as I'm sure everyone's aware, and we went to the Kotel for Tisha B'Av as a group, and it was just incredible. It was just like, there's nothing like it. It's everyone's singing. There's like people like weeping in the streets. Some people are crazy enough to like go on the Temple Mount. It's like a whole thing. It was really crazy being in Tisha B'Av.
You went there at night?
Yeah, so we went there the night of Tisha B'Av.
You said
it was really incredible. Yeah, we said Eicha. You read Lamentations for our English speakers in the audience.
So you walked there after Shabbos was over?
Yes. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because everyone can use electricity. Like, it feels like it should be like a no electricity, no work hog. And in a way, it is no work. But everyone's able to record, and we took the bus on the way back. But it was a lot more enjoyable than I thought for such a terrible day. It was very meaningful.
I think where enjoyable is operative here.
Yeah, maybe.
Meaningful, yeah. Not enjoyable. Like, oh, that's great.
Not enjoyable. Spiritually nourishing. How's that?
Excellent. I got to remember that. Spiritually nourishing. So now you're coming back to Boston, you're coming back to Rhode Island. How long are you staying in Israel?
Yes. So my flight is on Monday, so that's a few days from now. I'll be back in Boston for one more semester. So
they're not throwing you out of the yeshiva even though the program's over today?
No, they're very gracious, and I'm staying here for a few more days.
Right. The Bachram is still there, right?
Yeah, a lot of them are still there. I'd say about half of all the Bachram left. I'd say 75% of the kids in my program left.
So how do you, from having this 5 weeks in yeshiva in Jerusalem, which is, you described it as being an amazing experience, what are you going to take with, what do you want to continue in Boston when you come back for the next semester?
So I've been thinking a lot about this, like what things I kind of want to move up on. Definitely working on saying all the brachas before eating and after eating and washing more. That's kind of like a more simple thing that I can integrate if I just memorize it and dedicate more time. The big thing is keeping kosher. Like I've always kept kind of kosher style at home just because it's really difficult because no one in my family keeps kosher. And I'm sure the nearest kosher butcher is in like Providence, which is not the hardest thing. But this semester, my roommate keeps kosher and I'll be keeping kosher in the apartment. So it should be kind of a good flow from, obviously I've been keeping kosher here in Jerusalem because it's so easy. And then in Boston as well.
Wow. And learning?
Yeah, learning. I mean, to be honest, I learned a lot in Boston as from all the Jewish U credits, and I'm at every Chabad event except the women's ones. I think they'd kick me out, but definitely keep learning. I want to try learning more with a chavrusa, whether it's like on FaceTime or in Boston. I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, but that style learning is good. I kind of set it in my mind this past spring that I want to go through the entire Tanakh, sort of starting with the prophets. So I read Joshua before I came to the yeshiva, and with the yeshiva, we completed Judges here, and I made a siyum on that about a week ago, and now we're slowly learning Samuel or Shmuel, as they say.
Learning
meaning with the Chavrusa, reading through it, asking questions, understanding the text, reading commentary also, but really taking our time. It's not about, like, would I love to get through everything in the next year? Yeah, that'd be great. But I'm not in a rush.
Wow. Okay. Seth, you have any questions?
No.
That was great. I think it was very, very wonderful. Amazing. What kind of negative things are there? What kind of like, oh man, I can't.
What kind of negative things? I mean, Israel just kind of smells funny everywhere you go. Just like a bad, weird smell. I don't know what it is, Rabbi. It's a negative thing. Israel's just kind of smelly. We had some rocket alarms.
Because everyone there smokes cigarettes all the time. That is like my only complaint about Israel, other than just like the ridiculousness that is trying to navigate driving through, is the fact that everyone smokes cigarettes. Because I hate the smell of cigarettes.
Yeah, it's a big part of the culture.
Let's talk about the security for a minute.
Yes. We had some. So my second day here, I wake up at like 5 a.m. just on my own because of jet lag. And I'm like, oh, it's nice. Like, let me go to the roof. Like, it's cool outside before the day gets hot. I go up onto the roof, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And I see like a shooting star, except it's going up. And I'm like, interesting. And then I check Twitter. I just look up like Israel, and it's like, sure enough, something was intercepted at Tel Aviv, sort of near the direction I was looking. I was like, well, that checks out. So we've seen a bunch of rocket / interceptions here from the Houthis. So that's like a group in Yemen. We saw one actually 2 days ago, like right off the balcony. But you won't get the alerts or the alarms unless it's like possibly maybe near your area. And we got one of those while we.
No, I thought maybe they shot one at you when you said that.
No, someone called me. But yeah, it's very secure here, I think. There's soldiers really everywhere. You see everyone carries guns here, and not just handguns, mostly like M4s. But yeah.
I want to emphasize that point. So in your daily going around in wherever you were in Israel, you never felt any danger. You never were apprehensive about going somewhere or anything like that.
No. Well, I did go to the West Bank to visit my family for Shabbos. So I mentioned my family earlier. This is
Right.
my distant family. They're not so distant anymore. But so they live in Efrat, which is in the West Bank, like they're settlers. And it was a really nice neighborhood. It's fairly new, but we're walking around on Shabbos. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, like this is the playground. Like all the kids come here." A few months ago, like our neighbor like shot a terrorist here, and I'm like, okay, like whoa, like they're really close to Bethlehem, which is where a lot of Palestinians are, and it's like just kind of part of their life that like like terrorists happen, and it's just like it just kind of is what it is.
Wow. All right. Well, I think the message is very clear. GTY.
Go to yeshiva.
Yeah. Amazing. And I'm sure now when you talk about real Mashiach now, you're able to really connect to it because you're in Israel and you say, all we need is like to just get everything fixed up and it'll be Israel in its prime with the Beis HaMikdash and everything.
Yeah, it's really cool going to all the historical sites and like understanding a lot of the things we just talk about on like a physical level. Like it's one thing, it's similar to like keeping Shabbos. Like you can talk about keeping Shabbos and learn about it forever, but until you actually do it, like you don't understand it. So until you go to Israel and see the ruins, like see the land, you're not going to have sort of a deeper understanding, in my opinion.
Okay,
So,
amazing.
good stuff.
Well, thank you very much. It's late at night for you, but
Thank
you're
you.
not get up early tomorrow because yeshiva's over.
Amen.
You're down at the late minyan, the 8
That's
o'clock
right.
minyan.
Yeah. Very late.
All right. Well, as we come off Tisha B'Av, we did the morning part. Now we go to the uplifting part. We have to strengthen ourselves, Torah mitzvahs, with an element of joy, turn the darkness into light. And you can cancel your return flight because we're all coming with Mashiach Mamish today. And we'll see you there.
Amen.
Amen.
With that, thank you so much for listening to episode 120 of the Pos-cast. Rabbi Shmuel Posner. We will see you next week.